everyone. My name is Charlene B. Abaquita, and we're here to discuss on you the topic that was assigned. Lesson 5 about socio-cultural dimension. So what is socio-cultural dimension? From the word itself, it is something na nag-i-involve sa social and sa cultural aspect. Example is yung knowing about the people around you and their family backgrounds. So we hope that you will listen carefully and you will learn a lot about our topic. Introduction. Learning is influenced by social interaction, interpersonal relations, and communication with others. So learning is influenced by social interaction. Social interaction means it is exchanging between the two or more individuals. Social interaction meron siyang important role in learning. It is proven to be quite effective in peer learning, reciprocal teaching, and yung behavioral modeling. It is effective for the student because they learn from others, thus enhancing comprehension and retention or yung pagpapanatili sa active prior knowledge, making connection, and consolidating new ideas. Also, yung pakikipag-interact with other people has proven to be quite effective in assisting the learner to organize their thoughts, reflect on their understanding, and find the gaps in their reasoning. Learning is influenced by interpersonal relations. Ito naman is yung outside the classroom is another important way para masupport yung social needs ng isang students. Working with others in a new environment, such as at a new sport, helps the students to learn the value of a teamwork and to develop yung leadership skills. Learning is influenced by communication with others. Communication with others is if you have a communication, you can have interaction between the teacher and yourself. You can ask question and can have an answer from your teacher or other people whom you're asking for. Learning can be enhanced when the learner has an opportunity na makipag-interact and collaborate with others on instructional tasks. Yung instructional task kasi means it is an active engage in by teacher and yung student during classroom instruction that is oriented towards the development of a particular skills, concept, or yung idea. So learning setting that allows social interaction and respect for diversity encourage flexible and thinking in social competence. Ito naman daw is, sinasabi dito, nire-refer nila yung physical setting for a learning environment, a place. Yung learning setting kasi, it is a place in which teaching and learning occur. It is commonly used as a more definitive alternative to classroom, but it may also refer to indoor or outdoor location, either actual man siya or virtual. So, sabi din dito na yung learning setting daw is parang yun nga inaalaw niya daw yung na magkaroon ng pakikipag-ugnayan dun sa lipunan natin and yung paggalang ng pagkakaiba ng bawat tao and ini-encourage niya yung pagiging flexible thinking and yung social competence na meron yung isang tao. Lesson objectives. The lesson objectives of socio-cultural dimensions are the following. For the readers to understand the advantage of knowing or learning of a different aspects of a culture, and the reader will be able to set formality and standards through education. to enable the student to deeply comprehend about the theory regarding dun sa socio-cultural dimension na naka-align with the importance and yung positive and negative impact nito sa child cognitive development. Para din daw maintindihan kung what are the things that the theory of socio-cultural dimension wants to convey as a student and as a child. To know how the social proceeds and what process needs for the development and understanding of every child. To help the learners apply their learning in the actual situations. Social and cultural influences on learning. So sinasabi rito na yung social and cultural influences on learning, quality of a personal relationship. It means it refers to close connections between sa tao and formed by the emotional bonds and interactions. These bonds often grow from and are strengthened by the mutual experiences. Sinasabi rin dito na yung stability, trust, and caring, siya yung nag-i-increase ng learners' sense of belonging, self-respect, and self-acceptance, and nagbibigay daw siya ng positive climate for learning.
So, good day everyone. I am Maria Luisa Basco. On this slide, I'm still gonna discuss about social and cultural influences on learning. I myself believe that people don't stop learning, but learning can sometimes depend on a lot of factors, and part of those are our social and cultural environment. I'll reiterate some factors which I found very important when it comes to learning process, how this affect and help us. First is our family. In a Filipino culture, family is a main foundation of our values, characteristics, and even emotions. Family influences positive interpersonal support and, instruction in self-motivation strategies. It can offset factors that interfere with optimal learning, such as negative beliefs about competence in a particular subject, high levels of test anxiety, negative sexual expectations, and undue pressure to perform well. Well, in an ideal Filipino culture, we tend to see and believe that family should be the role model. But as our social society changes, it influences an individual to change their behavior to meet the demands of social environment. That's why people must be wise in making decisions. We've got capabilities to identify and choose where we wanted to improve and learn. We always get into this point where we will realize that there is a negative and positive place to learn. This is where positive learning environment can also help establish context for healthier levels of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Such contexts help learners feel safe to share ideas, actively participate in the learning process, and create learning community.
Good day, I am Maria Cristina A. De La Cruz and I am going to report about the culture. Culture. Culture refers to the identity of an individual race. It is defined as the shared products of a human group of society. Culture should be learned by each generation so we can prevent racism. As we see today's generation, we are fighting for justice for each race because we clearly how racism works and we are enough with that. We educate youngsters on each individual culture for them to know that their race is not the only race in the world. So sinasabi dito na yung culture ay ang isang identidad ng isang tao o ang kanyang identidad ng kanyang lahi. Sinasabi din na ito yung mga shared products ng isang human group sa isang society. And ang culture ay dapat na natututunan kada generation natin para maiwasan natin yung pagkakaroon ng racism o diskriminasyon sa mga lahi or culture na meron ang bawat isa. At nakikita rin natin sa generation ngayon na talagang nilalaban natin and hinahanap natin yung justice sa bawat race o sa bawat lahi na meron tayo. Kasi para malaman natin na ang racism ay hindi siya nakakabuti para sa isang tao, sa isang individual at para na rin sa culture. And we are enough with that. Sabi nga, we educate youngsters and by this culture, in-educate natin yung mga youngsters na malaman nila na hindi lang isang lahi ang meron tayo, kundi marami din. Para alam nila kung paano i-adapt ang learned culture na matututunan nila sa society nila para marunong silang rumespeto kung anong meron din lahi or culture ang bawat isa na makikilala nila or makakasama nila sa socialize nila. Our culture teaches us how to think. Cultures and social groups are also characterized by particular ways of thinking. For effective participation in social activities in the culture, members of the culture are expected to learn this. So, sinasabi dito na yung culture, tinuturuan tayo kung paano na mag-isip. So, paano? For effective participation, like for example, yung mga social activities, like for example, sa culture is yung mga festival na pinagdiriwang sa ibang bansa. So, sa pamamagitan ng pagdiriwang ng festival, nagkakaroon tayo ng way of thinking na pagiging unique, creative, and doon natin na bibigay doon natin na represent yung culture na meron tayo bilang isang tao. And members of the culture are expected to learn this. So, dapat matutunan ng bawat individual, hindi lang basta ng mga youngsters or mga bata. Dapat ng lahat ng tao or ng individual ay matutunan kung ano yung culture na meron ka or yung kinagisnan mo para alam mo na kung paano siya i-represent. And tinuturuan tayo na respeto and yung way of thinking natin is positive. Cultural beliefs about how learning occurs. Other cultures believe that people learn best by discovering new ideas for themselves. These cultures will encourage learners to analyze and question the teaching information, reorganize and transform it, explore and trial ideas. These different beliefs lead to the cultural groups valuing different ways of learning and different learning outcomes. So, dito naman is yung mga paniniwala natin sa ating kultura kung paano ba yung nangyayari ang pagkatuto or ang pag-aaral natin. So, sabi na ang iba't ibang kultura ay naniniwala na ang isang individual o ang isang tao ay mabilis na natututo sa pagdidiscover ng mga bagong knowledge para sa sarili nila. And ito yung mga culture na nag-encourage sa mga learners para ma-analyze nila ng mabuti yung idea na meron sila at yung new information na makukuha nila o yung paniniwala na iyon. And question the teaching information. And para malaman nila kung ano pa ba yung mga dapat baguhin sa isang pag-aaral ng isang tao. At para maayos nila, magkaroon sila ng process kung paano ba nila ito maitatransform, and then kapag nagkaroon na sila ng stepping stone or process is maitatransform na nila ito ng maayos and explore and trial ideas. So, sabi ng iba't ibang kultura, mas mabilis matututo ang isang tao kapag nag-explore ka kasi mas marami kang madidiscover ng mga bagong ideas, new informations para sa sarili mo for you to improve. And these different beliefs lead to the cultural groups. So, yung mga paniniwalang yun is, ayun yung nagli-lead sa mga cultural groups na kung saan binavalue nila kung paano yung iba't ibang ways of learning and different learning outcomes, kung paano yung paraan ng pagkatuto nila sa isang kultura, sa isang paniniwala ng isang tao o sa isang society ng mga tao, and kung paano yung mga learning, kung paano i-adapt ng isang individual, and kung paano nila irerespeto ang isang paniniwala ng isang tao. Sociology of culture. This shows our way of thinking and categorizing our hopes and fears. Our likes and dislikes, and our beliefs and habits are social creations, strongly influenced by time and place in which we live. So, sinasabi dito, sociology of culture. Ano nga ba ang sociology? Sociology understand that the culture is the language, art, beliefs, or yung mga paniniwala natin, also the collective identities and the memories. These are developed by the members of social groups for them to improve their and develop their social environment. So, nagpapakita ito ng way of thinking natin and categorizing our hopes and fears, because in this sociology of culture, if we understand the meaning or the significance of our own language and others' language, we know that, or malalaman natin kung paano i-respect or kung paano yung thinking natin ng pagrespeto sa kultura ng kapwa natin and sa sarili natin. Categorizing our hopes and fears. So, dito rin natin natututunan kung paano natin ilagay sa sitwasyon yung sarili natin para magkaroon tayo ng pag-asa and makonquer natin yung fear natin, because dito natin natututunan kung paano makipag-socialize sa iba't ibang tao kahit hindi natin siya kalahi or iba yung culture na kinagisnan niya. We can also know our likes and dislikes. We can dito natin malalaman kung ano yung mga gusto nating gawin or kung ano yung mga gusto nating kainin or bilhin or suotin, and also our dislikes, yung mga hindi naman natin gustong gawin. And our beliefs and the habits are social creations. So sabi dito na yung paniniwala natin at yung mga habits or yung ginagawa natin sa pang-araw-araw are social creations or gawa ng social natin. Kasi, yung mga paniniwala natin or yung behavior natin is nakukuha natin sa society natin or by socializing. So, when we socialize or kapag nakikipag-usap tayo sa ibang tao, dito natin natututunan yung paniniwala din nila at kung ano din meron tayo na pwede natin i-share sa kanila. And culture influence our beliefs and our behaviors. So, ang kultura ang nag-influensya sa atin kung ano ba ang dapat nating paniwalaan or kung ano yung paniniwala na meron tayo at kung ano yung mga gawain or yung tradition, habits na kinagisnan natin na hanggang ngayon is ginagawa natin because of our culture that influence us, strongly influenced by time and place. So, in each generation is dapat na mas naiintindihan natin kung anong kultura meron tayo, kasi habang tumatagal or habang tumatanda tayo is nagbabago talaga yung culture or yung mga beliefs and habits na meron tayo nung bata tayo hanggang paglaki natin is pwede rin siyang mag-improve because we discover a lot kapag nag-explore tayo. So, kapag nasa ibang lugar tayo, is nalalaman din natin kung ano yung beliefs na meron sila and culture na meron sila sa lugar na iyon. And in this sociology of culture, sinasabi na mas natututo tayo or mas naiintindihan natin kung ano bang meron ng isang kultura natin. Mas nakaka-appreciate tayo ng sariling art natin, sariling language natin, and also we know how to appreciate and respect others' culture, others' language, others' art. And natututo tayong makipag-socialize ng maayos. And because of the influence of our culture, we learned a lot of knowledge and a lot of discipline, and we improve our behaviors.
The history of Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory. Lev Vygotsky is one of the main theories associated with social-cultural perspective on learning. Ipinanganak si Lev Vygotsky sa Russia noong 1896 at nag-aral siya ng abogasya sa Moscow University. However, he always had an interest in the course psychology. Although wala siyang formal na training, he was still considered as an educational psychologist. His work began when he was studying learning development to improve his own teaching. Namatay si Lev Vygotsky dahil sa tuberculosis noong 1934, and although the government dismissed his ideas after he died, his students always kept them alive. After the Cold War, his ideas began to emerge and his socio-cultural became more prominent. Three major themes of social development theory. The first one is social interaction, the second one is more knowledgeable other or MKO, and the last one is the zone of proximal development or ZPD. Social interaction. The socio-cultural theory is the idea that learning and development depends on the interaction with the world around you. It is a combination of the social environment and cognition. In simple terms, Vygotsky believed that children learn from the community and culture around them. Imitation of learning. For example, parents, peers, and the overall culture interact with the child. They see the way these people act around them and imitate this behavior. This is known as imitation of learning. Another way children learn is instructed learning, where they remember teachers' instructions and use this guidance in order to carry out tasks. Like in the kindergarten children, the teacher the teacher gave instructions to the students how to draw, and the student carry out the task individually. The final one is known as collaborative learning. This is where a group of peers work together to learn a specific skill while also wanting to understand each other. For example, the teacher gave a task to the students to make a poster, and the students share their ideas and skills in order to carry out the task and finish it at time. The more knowledgeable other. It refers to anyone who has a better understanding or a higher ability than the learner, with respect to a particular task, process, or concept. The more knowledgeable other normally thought of as being teacher, coach, or older adult. But the MKO could also be peers, a younger, or even a computer.
The zone of proximal development, CPD. It is the distance between a student's ability to perform a task under adult guidance and/or peer collaboration and the student's ability solving the problem independently. CPD refers to the difference between what a learner can do without anyone's help. It shows the individual skills of a child. CPD is the distance between the actual development level determined by individual problem solving. Scaffolding. What is scaffolding? Process of providing the learner with a good deal of support during the time he is learning something. Support is reduced as the learner becomes able to do tasks independently, resulting in his taking on increasing responsibility for his own learning. Scaffolding refers to a process in which teachers model or an adult how to solve a problem and to step back to offer support as needed.
In Vygotsky's theory, it shows that individuals' process of learning is dependent, and we all know that change is constant in our society. Hence, as our environment adapts changes, it also affects the process of learning that we used to have. Lev Vygotsky's theory also affects our globalization. This has a large impact to the growth of our economy and in learning development as we pass our culture's information to one another. It can reach the individual's full development and perspective regarding how important to acquire knowledge from cultures. It is driven by new technologies, new economic relationships, and the national and international policies of a wide range of actors, including governments, international organizations, business, labor, and civil society. In the learning environment, learners can sometimes discover things or new information that didn't came from the transmissionist. And this is where a great development could happen, which we can relate to the effect of Vygotsky's social advancement hypothesis to globalization. Not a single country would always want to stay at a bottom edge of, or should I say, learner collaboration and learning improvements takes place in order to compete on a globalized economy. That theory creates a positive impact in relation to globalization.
Yuri Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems, the theory of child development. He was a Russian-born American developmental psychologist whose most significant work was his ecological systems theory of child development. He was known for his concept of ecological systems theory that no man is an island. We tend to be more matured if we interact with other people, and it will be stronger if we have the relationship with them. This means that the environment of the child has a big impact to his physical, emotional, and mental development. Bronfenbrenner's concepts depicts 4 ecological systems. Actually, this is 5, but he much more focused to the 4 ecological systems, which an individual will potentially interact with, each nested within the others. Bronfenbrenner's concept depicts 4 ecological systems, which an individual will potentially interact with, each nested within the others. Viewed from the innermost system outwards, Bronfenbrenner's model illustrates the following systems. First, the microsystem. Second, mesosystem. Third, the exosystem. And last, macrosystem. Ecological system theory, it examines individuals' relationships within communities and the wider society. When we talk about microsystem, it is about asking yourself or the theory of know thyself. Kasi you are asking, ano yung purpose ko ba dito? So microsystem refers to the institutions and groups that most immediately and directly impact the child's development. some examples of these are the family, the school, religious institutions, neighborhood, and peers. They are the one na magtuturo sa atin how interaction will work. Kung halimbawa ba, nakipag-interact ako dito, pag nakipag-usap ba ako dito, maganda ba or mas maganda na nagsosolo lang ako. Ganun yung nagiging impact ng microsystem. When we say mesosystem, it consists of interconnections between the microsystems. For example, the family mo nagkaroon siya ng impact sa religious institutions. So, ang magiging outcome nun, you have friends na iba na sa religious institutions. Hindi ka mahihiya na okay, pag pumunta ka doon, di ba, you will be friends of everybody. Magiging ganun. Or di kaya, some example, kapag naman, when we say sa school, ganyan, si parents, may relationship kay teacher, na pwede kanyang makontak, na halimbawa, yung anak ko po may problem. That's the reason kung bakit kailangan ng mesosystem si microsystem. Kumbaga, microsystem kasi is individualism. For example, ang individual institution individualism institution. When we say mesosystem naman, yung connection ng dalawang institution or 2-3 more institution. When we say exosystem, it's much more focused to influences by the other. It involves links between social setting that do not involve the child. For example, as we know, we have different kinds of way of disciplining our children. So, diba? Pag ang mga magulang natin, we have different kinds of background kasi ng family. So, paano ka dinisiplina, paano ka pinalaki, yung iba sinasabi, wala naman daw pakialam yung magulang, hinahayaan sila, kumbaga may free will sila, yung iba naman, pinagmamalupitan. Ngayon, kasi, habang bata ka pa, kapag nakikita mo kasi yun, syempre, sometimes you get scared, diba? Kasi, bakit siya pinapalo? Bakit ako hindi? Kumbaga, nagiging, nagkakaroon ng input sa'yo na you will realize na yung swerte ka pa kasi hindi ka pinapalo. Ganun. Kumbaga, may different perspective sa pagdidisiplina ng isang bata. So, ganun yung nagiging ng exosystem. Kasi, kung ano ang nakikita ng bata, yun yung madalas na ginagaya niya. So, kaya kailangan pa rin ng proper guidance ng bata. When we say macro system, it is the wider adaptability in changes in a child. It involves cultural individualism. Paano? Kasi 'di ba, when we say culture individualism, magkakaiba tayo ng kultura, magkakaiba tayo ng mindset, magkakaiba tayo ng perspective, magkakaiba tayo ng economic growth natin, ganyan, ng mga sexuality, ganyan. So, sa microsystem, doon na nai-involve yung interaction natin sa iba pang kultura, ganon, na nagpo-produce sa atin na paano ba natin ire-respect yung kultura ng iba. As the child interact with a bigger society or community, it can affect their beliefs as well as their perspective in life, either based on experiences or others. Kasi 'di ba, we have different pathways. If ako hindi ko siya mai-experience pero kwento mo siya sa akin, nagiging thought ko na hindi ko siya pwedeng gawin kasi hindi siya healthy for me, as well as hindi healthy kapag ginawa ko pa kasi syempre ginawa niya na. Tapos, o di kaya based on my experience, kinento ko yung sa experience ko sa ibang tao, nagkakaroon din yun ng awaken ng minds ng ibang tao na ganun pala yon, hindi pala dapat ganun yung ginagawa. We all have our differences, like in geographic locations. Ayan, sinasabi ko kanina, geographic locations natin, socio-economic status, poverty, and ethnicity. Kasi, based sa society natin ngayon, dahil syempre, in our world today, full of judgmental people, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga social climber na ang nangyayari, hindi sila aware na hindi magandang itrato mo ang isang tao based on their economic status. Kasi merong iba sumasama sa friends, 'di ba? When we say sa school, sumasama sa friends kasi ganito, may kaya si ganito, may ganyan, baka malibre niya kami. Yung ganon, nagiging ganon kasi yung mindset, lalo na yung mga bata na nagkakaroon sila ng, syempre, maa-amaze sila kapag hindi ko nabibili yung ganito, maiinggit ako, kailangan bumili din ako. That's also the impact ng globalization when it comes to macro system, kasi nagkakaroon siya ng ng jealousy, ganon. Learning is a need based on the facts. So when we say macro system, if we learn, dapat we base on the truth and the facts, kasi sa dinami-daming ini-introduce ng word sa atin, kung ano yung mga sinasabi sa atin, nagkakaroon tayo ng doubt and hesitance na hindi tayo nagtitake ng risk. Sometimes kasi taking risk is important kasi hindi mo maalalaman yung outcome hanggat hindi mo siya ginagawa. If we want to learn, we learn, 'di ba? Kasi sa macro system kasi malawak kasi yung sakop niyan. It's either pang emotional, pang physical, pang psychological, yung ganon. Kumbaga, ang kailangan tanggapin natin yung tama at mali, pero i-apply natin kung ano yung tama. Ganon lang siya kasimple. And last, changes is constant. So, generation by generation na changes are constant. That's why in macro system, sobrang laki ng sakop niya. Kasi, the way na nagkakaroon tayo ng interaction sa ibang tao, nagkakaroon tayo ng bagong kaalaman. So, ganun yung nagiging impact ng macro system. Dito din lumalabas yung mga researchers natin, kasi syempre, 'di ba, shared culture, 'di ba, shared society, shared community, nagkakaroon tayo ng mind na ay kailangan meron tayong babaguhin dito. And that's the importance of macro system na kasama si chrono system, the fifth theory of child development. So, sa chrono system, it involves the metacognition, the higher level of thinking. Ito, for example, if we believe that changes, it can affect us. Kapag naniwala tayo na changes are constant, it will affect us. For example, in our society or in our bansa, kapag nalaman kasi ng mga bata na nag-start up ang mga bata na okay, kailangan happy family, kailangan kumpleto kami, si mama, si papa, ng ganyan. Pero kasi there are times na hindi natin mapipigilan, 'di ba, na nagkakaroon ng divorce. So doon magkakaroon ng interaction yung bata. Ay, akala ko when we say family, kailangan palaging kumpleto. Yung pala may involvement ng divorce. So ganun yung nagiging ng chrono system. Dito pumapasok yung mga new research and studies na we need para hindi tayo mag-stay sa narrow mind. Kasi the way na nagiging narrow mind tayo, na kung although we should respect to those people na sinasarado yung isipan nila when it comes to society, but we must be aware na habang ang generation natin is palayo ng palayo, new introduction of technologies, new introduction of the law, new introduction of things na kailangan nating baguhin is mababago talaga. Kasi hindi natin control yun eh. That's why, when we say chrono system talaga, dito yung sinasabi ng mga studies ginagawa natin for us to be able to know na kung ano ba yung mga dapat baguhin, ano ba yung nalalaman ko na hindi naman pala totoo, ano yung pinaniniwalaan ko na hindi naman pala dapat yun yung paniwalaan ko.
Good day everyone, my name is Jane Ashley Dacaimat and we're going to discuss about the theory of Erik Erikson, the psychosocial development. Erikson is a Freudian ego psychologist. He is known for his theory of psychosocial development. Ang psychosocial development, from the word itself, it is the combination of psychology and social na tumutukoy sa iba't ibang yugto ng buhay ng tao na kung saan naapektuhan ito dahil sa kanyang environmental factor o kaya sa social interaction. Sinasabi din nila na ang psychosocial development ay ang paghubog ng isang tao base sa kanyang kapaligiran. Ang psychosocial development ay nahanga sa teorya ni Sigmund Freud na psychoanalytic theory, but Erik Erikson theory mas nagpo-focus o interesado siya on how social interaction and relationship played a role in the development and growth of human beings, at kung ano ang impact ng ating social experience sa buong buhay natin. May dinagdag ding prinsipyo si Erik Erikson sa kanyang theory at ito yung epigenetic principle. This principle says that we develop through a predetermined unfolding of our personality in 8 stages. Kumbaga, kung nagiging successful tayo sa bawat stage sa teorya ni Erik Erikson, unti-unti tayo nade-develop at nakikilala yung sarili natin. This theory correlates to our topic, the socio-cultural dimensions of learning. Dahil through social interaction, mas nagiging knowledgeable tayo. Since the Erik Erikson theory involves different kind of person in the society that will benefit to our development. Also, sa theory ni Erikson, may kinakaharap tayo ng mga struggle or crisis every stage. If we fail to those struggles, may mga natututunan tayo na ayaw na natin mangyari ulit. Sabi nga, 'di ba? We learn from the experience. Kaya yung mga experience natin ay nakakatulong para magkaroon tayo ng learning. Halimbawa na lang is kung ikaw ay hindi ka naging successful sa isang stage at ayaw mo na maulit yung pagsubok o yung hirap na naranasan mo sa stage na yon, syempre gagawin mo na yung best mo para maging successful ka sa susunod na stage kasi nga may natutunan ka from the past stage. Now, you can see in the picture the 8 stages of Erik Erikson theory with the psychosocial crisis. Yung psychosocial crisis, ito yung na-experience ng tao depende kung naging successful or hindi siya naging successful sa stage na yon. Bawat stage kasi sa theory na ito, may mga psychosocial crisis talaga nakakaharapin. Yung social crisis dyan sa picture, kung yung nakikita nyo hagdan na may mga nakasulat na trust versus mistrust, yun yung tinatawag nating psychosocial crisis. Every stages of the theory has an appropriate age or developmental period. We need to fulfill every stage based on that kasi this theory covered the whole lifespan, but the problem is pagdating sa teenager stage, nagkakaroon ng problema na kung saan nalalaktawan at hindi na pupulfill yung stage na yon. At minsan tumatalon na sila sa stage ng young adult. Teenagers in their stage has a role confusion na kung saan kinakilala pa lang nila yung sarili nila and dinedetermine pa lang nila kung ano ba yung mga dapat nilang gawin. Kapag kasi hindi sila successful sa mga past stages nila, magkakaroon yon ng effect dun sa present stage nila. Pero minsan kasi is kapag teenager ka, kinokontrol ka ng mga tao na nasa paligid mo. It's either your friends, family, relatives, and etc. First stage is infancy or oral sensory stage, the trust versus mistrust, from birth to 18 months. This stage tackles about the trust and mistrust of an infant. It will base on the dependability and the quality of love, care and affection of child's caregiver. Kapag ang isang bata ay nakakaranas ng sapat na pangangalaga at pagmamahal galing sa kanyang magulang o kaya tagapangalaga, pagbubuo ito ng pagtitiwala niya sa mga tao na nasa paligid niya. Pero kapag ang bata ay nakaramdam or nakakaranas siya ng kakulangan, kahigpitan or kalupitan galing sa kanyang tagapangalaga, magdudulot ito ng kanyang takot at pagkawalan ng tiwala sa mga tao na nasa paligid niya. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of hope. By developing a sense of trust, the infant can have hope that as new crises arise, this is a real possibility that other people will be there as a source of support. Failing to acquire the virtue of hope will lead to the development of fear. This infant will carry the basic sense of mistrust with them to other relationships. Stage 2 is early childhood or anal muscular stage, the autonomy versus shame and doubt, from 18 months to 3 years old. According to Erickson, children at this stage are focused on developing a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. Sa yugto na ito, nagsisimula na ang bata na galugarin ang kanyang mundo o kaya kapaligiran at ipakita ang kanyang abilidad sa pamamagitan ng self-control. Kapag ang isang magulang o caregiver ay ginagabayan ng isang bata sa kanyang mga kagustuhan at gawain na kung saan makakaramdam ang isang bata ng kalayaan. Ngunit kapag ang caregiver or magulang ay kinokontrol o hinahadlangan yung isang bata na gawin ang kanyang mga gawain o kaya kagustuhan, magkakaroon ng isang bata ng pagdududa patungkol sa kanyang kakayahan at siya ay magiging mahiyain. Pero, depende kasi sa gawain ng bata. At this age kasi, malilikot at maliligalig na yung mga bata na kung saan pinapakailaman nila yung mga dapat na hindi nila pinapakailaman sa paligid nila. Kasi pwede yun magdulot ng disgrasya sa kanila. Sa stage na to, yung sinasabi na pagiging malaya, halimbawa na lang is yung paglalagay ng mga laruan nila sa tamang lagayan, pagpili ng mga damit, pagkain ng mag-isa at iba pa. Success in this age will lead to the virtue of will. If children in this stage are encouraged and supported in their increased independence, they become more confident and secure in their own ability to survive in the world. If children are criticized, overly controlled, or not given the opportunity to assert themselves, they begin to feel inadequate in their ability to survive.
Initiative versus guilt. After the two stages of psychosocial development, it is a time for a child to move into play age, where he or she starts the preschool years. In this stage, the child begins to imagine, broaden his or her skills through active play. The central stage is play. It will provide the child to play, as it provides children opportunity to explore their interpersonal skills through initiating activities, as well as, in this stage, children begin to plan activities, make up games, and initiate activities with others. With this given opportunity, children may develop a sense of initiative and feel secure in their obtained or acquired knowledge or abilities to lead the others and to make decisions as well. On the other side of this stage, if the child happen to pass through criticism or control, child may develop a sense of guilt. The saddest side of this stage is that parents are the one who tend to punish the child, control, and restrict his initiatives too much. Then the child begins to question and thirst for more knowledge. As an example, if the parents treat the children's questions as a problem and other aspect of their behavior as a threat, then the child may have a developing feelings of guilt for being a problem. As a result of this, too much guilt, it can make the child slow to interact with others and may inhibit their creativities. Industry versus inferiority. On this stage of life is all about expansion of one's social circle and beginning school. Children will be learning to read and write, to do sums, and to do things on their own. Also, on this stage, the child peer group plays an important role and will become a major source of child's self-esteem. The child now may feel that there is always a need to win of approval by specific competencies that are valued by the society and begin to develop a sense of pride in all the accomplishment. As an example, if the children are encouraged and reinforced for their initiative, then they begin to feel confident and feel confident in their ability to achieve goals. However, if this initiative is not encouraged, if it is restricted by the parents or teachers, then the child begins to feel inferior and may doubt his or her own abilities. In short, if the child cannot develop the specific skills that they feel the society is demanding, then they may develop a sense of inferiority. Identity versus role confusion. During this stage, puberty brings about sexual awareness and desire to experiment, as well as child begin to question his or herself, if who am I and what do I want to do with my life. Most adolescents try on different selves to see which one fit, or in short, they explore various roles and ideas, set goals, and attempts to discover their adult selves. A successful finding of identity at this stage, a child may have a strong sense of identity and are able to remain true to their beliefs and values in the face of problems and in the perspective of others. However, if you didn't make a conscious search for your identity, or maybe pressure to conform to your parents, your ideas for future, they may develop a weak sense of self and experience role confusion, as well as they will be unsure of their identity and confused about the future. As Eric Erikson quoted that, a teenager who struggle to adopt a positive role will likely struggle to find themselves as adult. As a result, for all of this, the child may do rebellion in the form of establishing negative identity, and in addition to this feeling of unhappiness. Intimacy versus isolation. At this stage of psychosocial development, a person begins to search for a partner. Then, the major question in here is that, will I love or will I be alone? We explore relationship leading towards long-term commitments with someone other than a family member. If you successfully resolve the conflict between intimacy versus isolation, it can result in a happy relationship. A sense of commitments, safety, and a care within a relationship, and the most especially, you can have the virtue of love. However, if you choose to avoid intimacy, fearing commitment and relationship can lead to isolation, loneliness, and sometimes the worst, it can cause a result a depression. Generativity versus stagnation. Erik Erikson believed that much our lives are spent preparing for this stage. When we have successfully resolved the conflict of young adulthood, we approach a new conflict in middle adulthood. Generativity refers to making your mark. It involves finding your life, work, and contributing to the development of others, as well as begins to contribute for the next generation. However, those who do not master this kind of task, they may experience stagnation. and feel unproductive and uninvolved in the world. Integrity versus despair. Once we have resolved our midlife crisis or the crisis of middle adulthood, we enter the late adulthood. This stage is one that Erik Erikson believed was a recovery from middle adulthood. At this point in the development, we people look back on the events of our lives and determine if we live a happy life or regret all the things that we did or we didn't do. Success on this stage leads to feeling of wisdom and ready to face the end of life with a sense of peace, while failure on this stage results in regret, bitterness, and despair that their lives will end without accomplishing things that they should have done.